sometimes, you know what, I end up answering your question even before you ask. But again, because this is informal, this is for you guys, so anytime if something isn't clear, please stop me and ask. I do also ask you to speak closer to the mic, and that's sometimes it's kind of hard to understand questions if they're from across the room. I'm going to start sharing my screen here with you guys. Just let me know if you see in a couple of seconds here to be able to see the sales planner. So just hold on a second. There you go. Are you able to see the current sales planner?
Yes.
Awesome. I would just ask for a manager to chime in a little bit here. I wasn't part of your install, and I haven't had the opportunity to talk to you guys before this call. Just give me an idea of your sales process. So, do you guys, all the salespeople, obviously they will enter the customer in the system. Do they desk deals? They don't desk deals? So, can you just give me a little bit of an idea?
Yeah, we use Easy Deal for payment structure and things like that. So they do already have an idea of that. We're skipping the AutoVance step for now. We've been down that road. It didn't work flawlessly.
Okay.
Yep.
Now, if I am a salesperson and I'm speaking with my customer right now, so I will enter the customer's information in the system. I will generate a sale, and then I will approach the sales manager with the sales number. Is that how it works?
Yep.
Currently?
Yep. They would have the deal completed when they bring it to us. Yep.
Fantastic. Now, is the sales people's responsibility as well to enter information such as address and trade?
Yes.
Okay. Perfect. That gives me an idea on how to structure this call. So first and foremost, obviously, this is the old sales planner, and the biggest advantage that you see in the new sales planner that I'm going to switch here very shortly is the fact that it is a mobile application. And then I will provide you also with the link. It's not an app. It's an actual link that using any mobile device that you have, a smartphone, tablet, iPad, laptop, as long as you have a internet, a web browser connection, you can enter that link and save in your favorites. And this way, with the same login that you currently have that you use to log into Accelerator, you will be able to use that to log into the sales planner. If you guys are using Communicator, it's the same thing. There is a link that I will provide you with from Communicator that you can also run on any of your mobile devices. And it works for Apple, for Android, BlackBerry, on your, say, laptops or even desktops at home. It normally works better with Chrome instead of Explorer, so if you do have an opportunity to use Chrome, I would recommend that. This sales planner here that you look at in front of you, it's a very similar, the new one is a very similar feel. It's just kind of looks a little bit different, once again, simply because of the mobile side of it. So obviously what I'm doing right now, you don't have to do. I'm just going to very quickly switch this around. And once I've done this switching here, what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to go back into your terminals, into your computers, and you're going to have to log out and then log back in again. And that way you will gain access to the new sales planner. I'll show you here in a second the proper way. You probably know, but it's always a good idea to just revisit the proper way of logging out of the system. So just give me 2 seconds in here. I'm just going to switch this around. Like I said, everything that I'm doing in here, you don't have to do. best way for you to, not normally, sorry, the best way for you to log out of the system, if you're not running Windows 10, on your keyboard and the very left, bottom left-hand side, the second key from the left is the Windows logo. You will hit that, and then this blue screen here is going to show up. You go to your name and you sign out. That's the proper way of doing it. A lot of dealerships will just come up in here and hit the X. Well, you will close the session, the screen actually, but you will not close the session, which basically can create a problem because if we have updates and whatnot, you will not get them. All right. I'm just going to do a quick refresh here to make sure it's operational. All right, so this is the new look, or the look for the new sales planner. Functionality is exactly the same as the other one. There's a couple of differences in here and a couple of caveats that I will bring up. One is the fact that it's still mobile and you have full access to creating prospects, creating sales, completing tasks. Everything else is going to be here. The one thing that if you're on your mobile device you will not have access to is going to be to the old side of Accelerator. Well, I'm going to call it old side, but to this side of Accelerator. This part in here you will not have access to. Okay? If you're on a mobile device, if you're on your desktop at the dealership, yes, you will have. Okay? So when we look at the sales planner in here, the way it's going to open up, it's exactly the way you see it. So we almost divide this in half like we did with the other one. We have the information side of it, which is your left-hand side, and on the right-hand side is going to be the detailed information. So for right now, I don't have any activities because I'm actually signed up. I'm logged in as form. I do have a couple of prospects in here, so I'll get to that here in a second. One of the things you can do as well in here or your mobile device is to search inventory. So how do you do that? Every time you see like 3 lines or 3 dots inside the new sales planner, it denotes a hidden menu. So if you click on it, you will see that there's another opportunity. There's something behind it that will open up for you. In this case, say I'm looking at my phone, I'm looking at my iPad, I can actually search my inventory even before I create any sales or anything for that matter. So right here, when I hit that vehicle inventory, this information is going to populate. You guys are somewhat familiar with this because the idea is exactly the same as the old sales planner. I can come up in here and search for new vehicles. I can put a description. So let's just hit search in here. Let's just make sure that this part is working. There you go. So you have 266 new vehicles that populated. As you can see, the vehicle cards are collapsed right now. If you want a little bit more information, just click on it and you will expand for you. Or you can come up here to the 3 lines and you can expand all in here as well. So if you hit expand all, so all the cards will expand and you will show all the information, including MSRP, vehicle ID, stock number, and so on and so forth. Very important to note in here as well is that, remember we talked about, well actually, the individuals that went to the install for you guys should have told you this, and I'm pretty sure they did. But even here now, if I'm looking at this Equinox and I see a B, obviously that's an indication that this vehicle is currently in business office, right? So if I'm a salesperson and I'm looking at this vehicle in particular, I know for a fact right now that this vehicle is in the business office. I would approach my sales manager, find out, get write up, backup deal, whatever the case may be. Other things that you can do in a search, I mean, you can do description. Again, I always say this, computers are, I mean, they're great, but they are stupid, right? In the sense that if you type a word, or in this case here, if I say I'm looking for Equinoxes LT, and I don't put a space between Equinox and LT, and I try to search, the system is going to come back with 0 vehicles. And simply because obviously the computers are always looking for zeros and ones, right? So in this case in here, you have to just be careful on how you do do the search just to make sure that you type exactly the way it's supposed to be, right? And I can continue drilling in here, so I'm looking at for a 2.0T and search again, and it's going to bring up, so I have 3 vehicles that will meet that criteria. For you guys as well, for GM stores, you have the ability to search for RPOs, right? So if you had a specific RPO that you're looking for, you can input in here. If you have a stock number that you already test drove with the customer, you can enter in here. So all this is familiar to you from the previous sales planner. It's just a different look. When you get to the card, the vehicle card, this is based on security, so it all depends on how the system was set up in the first place. But if you do have access to, there's 3 lines, 3 dots here down at the bottom. If you click on them, they will give you the options. Like I said, if you do have the option to open to see the invoice of the vehicle, then you can click on the open invoice and you will see the invoice. If you don't have that option, obviously the system is going to tell you you don't have security to open that invoice. Okay? At this moment in time also, what you have 2 opportunities in here. Let's say this is a vehicle that you're just finding the vehicle up right now to go on a test drive with the customer, so you can mark down the unit number, the stock number, and go find the vehicle. Or in this case, you could start a brand new sale from here by hitting new prospect. This is one way of doing it. I'm going to show you a different way here in a second. Once you've done your search, go back into those 3 lines and hit home. And at that moment in time, you'll be back in your sales, back into your sales planner. Sales managers, again, if you should have access to that. There's a couple of reporting capabilities in here. They're also located under your CRM, as you can see, sales metrics and showroom lot. But in here, you have the opportunity to go see, well, I don't have the security for this particular user, but as a sales manager, you have the option to take a look at those 2 reports, sales metrics and showroom lot. All right, we're back here into our sales planner. So remember, these would just open up a new menu for you. This is your refresh button right here. Then you have your activities, which is currently selected, and you have your prospects or customers. In the activities, you have an option, just like you did on your sales planner as well, to select appointments, deliveries, promotion, service, or tasks. So these are the activities. Obviously, deliveries are going to be set up by your finance managers. Service is going to be set up by the service department, and these are just indication of customers of yours coming to the service department. Okay? If you want to see just your appointments, deselect everything, leave appointments only selected, and everything else works the same. Dates you can change in here. There's different ways. There's just wiping everything clean, or just changing, or you can just open up a calendar by hitting this thick drop-down arrow, and you can pick up the dates that you want to choose. So far, so good? No questions?
No.
All right. So what we're going to do next is we're going to create a prospect in the system. In the old sales planning, you go to the plus sign on the top. Now your best friend in the new sales planner is going to be down here at the bottom right-hand side. This is green circle, which is what we call action button. Action button will pretty much give you control everything that you can do in the sales planner and give you the proper options. Remember, I told you about this is the information side and this is the detail side, because you don't have any customers whatsoever showing here on the upper right-hand side. When you go into your action button, you see that really the only option you have is to create a prospect. If you had a customer already on the right-hand side, like I'm going to have Tyler Robinson, the Tyler Robinson is a showroom prospect. If I go down into my action button, you see that I have way more options in here now, including creating a prospect, vehicle search, creating a sale, or creating appointment in or tasks. Okay? So you have those different options in here. We're going to pretend that we don't have anybody on our radar right now. So we're going to start from the bottom, and you always start from the bottom. Create a prospect. And the reason I'm saying this to you is because you also want to avoid duplication of prospects. Okay? How do I avoid the prospect? Regardless of the prospect when he comes into your office, if you're going to create a prospect, say you're talking to Tyler, and you ask Tyler, have you been here before? And Tyler says, no, I don't believe I have. So if you're going to create a prospect, and you start typing this customer's last name, comma, space, first name, you will see it's going to populate if the customer is already in the system. It shows in here that Tyler at 1 Main Street's already in the system. So now the next question is, Tyler, are you at 1 Main Street? Oh, yes, I am. No problem. Click on it, and you'll see what's going to happen in here. And this is exactly what I wanted to show you. To avoid duplication of prospects, you see here that there's your existing prospect. This is the actual operative word here. It says your, which means that allows you to pick this prospect instead of creating a new one. All you got to do is click on it, and you will pick that prospect and populate on the right-hand side. So that information should be there for you. If the address is already entered, the address is going to be there. If there's a potential trades for this customer, the vehicles associated with this customer will be there as well. Okay? If the customer is brand new, so we're going to go create a new prospect, and say you're talking to Mr. Stark. Sorry, I misspelled. Mr. Stark. I typed Stark, comma, space. The system is looking for, so there's some Starks in there, but his name is Tony, a.k.a. Iron Man. So as you can see now, it says Tony Stark isn't there. So not a problem. You're going to be able to create that prospect. And there's some information in here that's required, right? So, for instance, the main telephone number here is required. You guys don't have the requirement for channel and source, but you need this button here to be available to you. So I'm just going to say here, 586-522-5516. As soon as I have the opportunity, it gives me the opportunity to create, right? I was just going to hit create. Oh, by the way, the telephone number now is also a part of the search. What happens is that sometimes, let's say, you enter Tony Stark and you enter a telephone number, a main telephone number, that already belongs to another customer. Let's say it's Tony's spouse, Mary. Then the system will prompt you saying, well, okay, this phone number is already associated to Mary. Do you want to create Tony, or do you want to pick Mary? So in this case in here, nothing showed up, and this would have shown right here down at the bottom. Nothing showed up. We're just going to create the prospect. As soon as you hit create the prospect, you will see the name on the top. So pretty intuitive. Now we're dealing with Tony, no longer dealing with Tyler. When we look at this information here, sorry, was there a question?
Yes.
No? Okay.
No, there wasn't.
Yes, there is one.
Oh, sorry. Okay, no problem. All right, so
Well, there is a
when
question.
we're talking about this right now,
We have a question.
oh, sorry, go ahead.
When we are looking for a prospect, if sales management or management inside the building have put them to inactive, will it pull them up under the new system?
If they are inactive,
Yes.
no.
Okay.
If they are closed, yes. So if I close a prospect, for instance, I'll address this right now with you guys. So let's say Tyler was here. So Tyler is here on the top. So he's my active customer here. Tyler, I know I talked to Tyler, and Tyler basically said, you know what, Carl? No, I'm not fine. I can come up here and close the prospect. I'm not deleting or making this customer inactive. I'm simply removing this customer from my active customers. I can come up in here, open up, and I will explain this a little bit further here. I'm going to open up the record. I'm going to come to the status, and I'm going to say close. I'm going to save. The system is going to ask me why, and I'm going to say, in this case, I lost the sale. And I'm going to update. As soon as I update this individual, now I'm just going to do a refresh here. You can see in there already, but I'll just do a refresh. This individual now, Tyler, will be still showing in there simply because of the filter that I haven't touched bases with you guys just yet. But as you can see in here, it says that it's been closed. So, again, I will revisit this, but just to address that, I apply my filters, and all I want to see is my open or my active customers. You will see the tile is not going to be there anymore. But here's the deal. Say Tyler, 3 months down the road, shows up again. And I'm going to come in here and create my new prospect called Tyler Robinson. So I type Robinson, Tyler. You will see that he's still in the system because I did not set him up as inactive, right? And as you pointed out, only managers can set up any customers as inactive. Quite honestly, I would only set up a customer as inactive if that customer truly told me that they will never deal with my dealership ever again, or if that customer, for instance, is no longer here. The customer passed away or something like that. I would set up the customer as inactive. Otherwise, I would just leave that customer in there and just close the prospect if it came down to that. Okay? So, normally, and I'm just going to once again tell you guys what best practices are, and you guys apply that to your dealership as you see fit. I'm chatting with the customer. In this case was Tony Stark. Tony Stark was never in the system, so I entered the information in the system. And at that moment in time, because in your case, all you really need is first name, last name, and telephone number, and main telephone number. That's all you need. As soon as that customer is in the system, I'm going to address, qualify, and go do what I have to do in order to sell a vehicle to this customer. I'm not going to spend a whole lot more time here in the system. Again, best practices, and I'm going to focus on the customer. We go for a test drive and whatnot. We come back into the dealership, and I still have Mr. Stark's information here. And now he presented me with the vehicle registration, a driver's license. So I have the opportunity to enter a little bit more information about this customer. All I got to do is, first and foremost, I have a cell phone number now, okay? This information is locked, but all you got to do is just hit the pencil, unlock the information, because it's Windows-based. Let's say the telephone number is the same. I'm going to copy, and I'm going to paste this here into my cell phone. So I know that this customer's cell phone and main telephone number is the same. Also, things that I can do is message preference. So customers can tell you, or you may ask, how would you like, do you prefer me contacting you one way or the other by email, phone, or text? Oh, you know what, Carl? Text is best, because, you know what, I will answer the text before I answer the phone. No problem. I set my message preference to text. I'll show you here in a second why it's important, especially if you have communicator. At this moment in time, I'm going to save and close my record right in here. Now I have an address for that customer. Remember the 3 dots? Just go back into the 3 dots, and you're going to open Associate Profile. You guys seen this before. It's no different than you've seen before. I come in here and I say, oh, this is my address. Right? I got the location, my postal code. Again, I'm just going to put a postal code in here. And if I had a vehicle, so I can update here, if I have a vehicle now that obviously I didn't have it in the system before, I can just go into customer vehicle. As you can see there's nothing here, and I'm going to add a vehicle. You guys should be familiar with this as well. Just type the VIN number, hit tab. Most of the information will populate for that trade, right? I will have to complete a couple of fields, such as subcategory, and 99.99% is going to be used or used to trade in here. I mean, this is something that you guys came up with. Prospect color, and mileage. This is going to be the information that you're going to enter. Then you update and you exit.
So this
Obviously,
is,
I'm just
just
gonna
giving
exit
one,
here without saying
Oh,
that
hang
I
on.
don't have a vehicle.
no.
Hang on.
At that moment in time,
I'm just gonna explain what you're even doing. So this is, so you can enter their trade. You know when you're in quorum in the back and you go in to add their trade and you double click and it shows all their vehicles? This is where you would add those vehicles if they haven't been, if they've got a Kia and they're just new to you, right? So you would go there, you go into their associate profile, add a new vehicle, and that's where you're gonna add their trade so it populates in the worksheet in the back end. So you don't have to manually enter it then.
Parts of it, though, you still have to go in and manually enter stuff, though.
You won't have to if you do this part. No.
It's the same screen.
He just
why-
said that, he just said that. They still have to add things.
No, why?
He just said that.
That added vehicles, hundreds of them.
No.
No, like, the service date, this, that, you still have to add.
Still required.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah, like still, you know.
Those
that's
sorts
part
of
it.
things, sure.
Yeah.
Some of those things can have to be flipped around. The in-service date and stuff's irrelevant if it's a used vehicle that's coming into us, but, yeah, it's,
I think what John is saying is that those are those fields that he talked about are the required fields to save.
Yeah.
So you need the color, the current mileage, and the VIN, and that's it.
Yeah.
You
And
can
then,
enter
and that's where it'll populate your trades to pull one into a worksheet on the back end.
Gotcha.
So, go ahead, sorry.
no, don't be, because bottom line is that you're absolutely correct, right? So when you look at, so I'm going to use, for instance, I'm just going to go into your use inventory. Actually, let me just change something here very quickly too. I'm just going to change just the way the display is showing here, so just bear with me one quick second. This is something that you guys can do as well. So if you're using a large 16:9 ratio monitor and you're seeing that your monitor, your screen is small, you can expand the lists. You can go into Associate and then My Display, so display settings. And then you can come up in here and basically just change some of the scale, as well as when it says stretch lists, you can say yes. And what happens now, and when you get the new updated version as well, everything is now stretching, everything including this. But right now you have a little bit more info on the screen in here that you can still manipulate any way you want it. But what I wanted to do is just show you a couple of things. I'm sure you're familiar with this, but I think since it was brought up, it's important to just clarify. When you're entering a vehicle in the system, I'm just going to go to one of your used vehicles in here. Let's just go to this 15 Buick in here. Truly, the only information you're going to need outside the VIN number is going to be this, which is your category, which is going to be this, which is your prospect color. Because remember, sometimes you have these, right? So manufacturers will come up with some weird color names. All you really need in this case is to enter the main color, like a rainbow color, right? It's either red or it's red. There's no purple red or ruby red or whatever. And also the mileage, because everything else should automatically be decoded by the VIN number. I'm not sure if everybody at the dealership will have access to that, but I know management does. So even say if this, in this case in here, I don't have the in-service date, for GM products, if you double-click on the VIN number and you say no in this case, it will populate, and if you say yes in this case, it's going to go into GM. Not sure if this is the actual global or if this is the a different area there, but
This
it
is
gives you
this
all
is the global
necessary
one.
information such as all the RPOs that you have on that vehicle. It gives you, ship information, delivery information, in-service information. Again, it depends on your whether you have access to that. Also, vehicle warranty and service history. And if you didn't have, so we're going to delete this. So it's September 30th, 2015. So we're going to just cut this and update. If you didn't have this information here on GM products and you double click on the VIN and you say no, it will do the same thing for you, but what's going to do is going to bring back and put that in-service date automatically for you. We'll also tell you if the system has a campaign, like a recall or something like that. It will also show you if you double click on the VIN and you say no. Another thing, sorry, question?
No.
No? Okay. Another thing too is when you go into a used product or a pre-owned vehicle that it's not your OEM, let's say I'm going to go into this Aldi in here, most of this information will populate from the VIN decoder anyway, but even if you double click on not on the VIN, if it's outside GM product, but on the year, and in this case in here is a Premium Plus 2.0, and I proceed, it brings you back a very rudimentary Carfax report or a VIN translation report, but sometimes it gives you a little bit more of an idea of the four-wheel standards and turbocharged and four-door, it's all-wheel drive and so on and so forth. Again, it's just information that's there for you, okay? But yes, to the point that it was talked about in there, as long as you have the VIN number and you can come up with this, the prospect color and the current mileage, that's all you need. All right? And how important it is? Well, it's important that you enter that information before you create the sale, because when you do that, the sale will have that trade, that potential trade in there. Whether or not the customer is going to use the trade, that vehicle now is associated with that customer. So in the near future, if the customer comes back, this time he didn't use the trade, but the next time he's going to use the trade, that vehicle is there. Every time you enter a vehicle in the system, it stays there forever. Okay? So the history of the vehicle, the service history of the vehicle will carry forward regardless of ownership, right? All right, so at this point in time, let's say I came back, I talked to my customer, and then now I entered the address, I entered a potential trade, and I also, in this case, changed my message preference to text because the customer wants to be contacted by text. And the reason why we do this is very simple, because now you have the ability to come here on those three dots and send the communication to this customer via communicator. So let's say all you want to do is send the customer a very quick message. You can set up some templates in here, or you can just basically go into the message body in here and say, hi Tony, this is Carl. So again, this is Carl. And then whatever message you want to send. And then when you hit send, you will get a communication here saying, okay, message has been sent, and the customer should receive a text, which I just did because that's my phone number in there.
So we're all going to have this set up. We're all going to have this set up, and we will have the automatic templates as well. So if a customer has just left, and this is what we've been harping on since I started here, these automatic messages that after a customer leaves here, thank you very much for coming in. We appreciate your time. If you, I just wanted you to have an open line of contact. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to contact me here at any of my other contacts. And that's what, they'll just be, it's going to be fucking, put them in, click, it's done. You know what I mean? You don't even have to think. Like, it's going to be fantastic. You know, you don't have to think out a message and all of that stuff. We'll have them all clear templates on how they'll do this. We're going to have the same thing for at a week's time if you haven't heard from them. At a month's time if you haven't heard from them. And you can just click these messages and just do it. Okay? It's like one step from just the computer selling cars for you. Okay? So that's the way and how easy it's going to be set up. Go ahead, Carl. Sorry.
No, that's fantastic. That's exactly how we normally tell individuals to use that. And even if you use just to complement your point, even if you come here and send a communication, even if you you do have, say, something already set up in here, as you can see in here, like the test, you can still come in here and add to it or change. So, for instance, if it's something that it says, hi, this is, and then you want to put your name in here, you can always say, like, again, I'm just going to just very quickly say, so hi, this is, and then have this area here so you can actually put your own name. So even if you use the templates, which are great because it will save you a lot of time typing, you can still add or change something a little bit here as well as far as the template is concerned. And absolutely, it's a very easy way. The customer can reply to you, and as long as you don't close your communicator, just minimize your communicator. Make sure that your communicator is always up and running in here, because if it is, and you're on your desktop, I just replied. From my phone, I replied, and as you can see at the bottom right-hand side, it says, from Tony Stark, thank you. If I clicked on that, see what happens. It opens all the communications between me and that customer as well. And I can come back in here and type directly from here, send a nice emoji to the customer. So it's very, very nice. It's a nice touch. But
Excuse me, I have a question. Can we add a JPEG to those?
Not yet. Not yet. You will have an ability. So if I open up, we are working on an HTML format right now, but sorry, you do have an opportunity. If I come in here and I open this up now to email, and I'm going to say, obviously, I'm going to need an email now, so I'm just going to put my email in here for the sake of this conversation. Obviously, because without an email, I can't save it, so I'm going to save now. So I changed the message preference to email. When I come in here to send a communication or a communicator message, now that it's a little bit different. So now I can enter a subject. If I have, and this is something that's coming up, if I have a default HTML, or I can add attachments. The only thing that you have to remember is that the attachments, when you're going to enter the attachments, they must be inside the server. So what you're going to have to, because everybody in this case from here will have a drive, right? It's going to be under your name. So for instance, let me just cancel here, and I'm just going to go here and show you. So if I go into my computer, it's the same thing as you guys going to see. You will see a dealer share, and you will see yours. In this case, obviously, is mine for quorum, but you will see your name in here. So if you go in here, and under your pictures, for instance, and you save pictures in here, you will be able, at this point in time, to come back and add attachments, and then go into my pictures, my whatever the case may be, whatever you created in here, and pretty much attach. It could be a Word document, it could be a JPEG, it could be any type of document. But just so you know, we are working on an HTML editor that once we launch, you will be able to create really nice flyers and things like that that you're going to be able to send the customer directly via email. Right now, you do have the ability, just so you know as well, so if I go back in here and I open up the associate just to show you something very quickly, and I click on this communicator, you still have the ability to send, for instance, actually, let's just get out, it's too late now. I was going to show you something else.
Yeah, we don't need to cross the bridges or the pictures until it works. We can just send via our email until then. Yeah.
Carl, what comes up on the client's phone when you text them? Is there a phone number, or does it say message from Quorum, message from Jack McGee's? What's it say?
So Yeah, so right now, the way it is, and the number that, because this is a system generated, so one of the things that some dealerships will do, because remember, the reason why Communicator is powerful is twofold. One is because it's a very easy and quick way for you to communicate with your customer. Just like it was commented in here that the customer left your office, just go quickly in there, just send them a message saying thank you for stopping by. But most importantly as well is the fact that all the communication, if I go here and open Communicator, all the communication between me and that customer will be recorded. So there will be no arguments or conversations saying, well, this customer wasn't mine, he wasn't mine, or the salesperson or the sales manager can come in here and see exactly what's going on. Now, right now, currently, the only setback, I'm not going to use the word setback, but the only thing that you have to be aware of is that because the system generates this automatically, the phone number that reported in my telephone number in my phone here was 613-627-2201. Now, if I reply as a customer, you just saw that, if I reply as a customer to this number in here, it will come up on my Communicator. There's not going to be an issue because this customer is associated with me. But if I try to call this number, on the other hand, that's not going to work, right? So I leave it up to you. Management will have to make a decision of whether or not it will be okay for the sales people to actually add their own personal cell phone numbers to that message. I can't, at that point in time, I can't tell you what to do, but there's the advantage of keeping all the communications together in one spot, or then branching that communication out to other areas that you won't be together here. You won't be in the same spot, right? Okay. Other things, depending on your setup as well, as far as the Communicator is concerned. And let me just take a very quick look here. I don't have access to that, I don't believe. Whether or not your customer will get a text automatically when you set up an appointment. So I'll get to that point in a second here. So let's just continue our sales process. So I got all the information in the system, the customer's in the system. If there was a trade-in, it will be in the system. The address is in the system. So now the only other thing that I can do in here is either I'm going to search my inventory, you can create the sale from there, or if it's going to be a deal locate, I'll create a sale without a vehicle inventory. So let's just go for the first step. And you guys seen this before as well. I can come up in here and search my inventory, otherwise the whole inventory is going to pop up. If I have a stock number, I can just type that stock number directly in here. So let's say, for instance, we're going to sell the Silverado. It is a used Silverado, so I'm just lazy, so I'm just going to copy and paste. In this case, you would have typed it. Search. There's your vehicle right there. Again, you can open up the vehicle here if you want to just double check to make sure this is the vehicle you're selling. Okay? Yeah, this is the vehicle. Again, you can go into your RPOs, take a look, depending on the access you have. Managers obviously have access to the invoice. In here now, I'll create the sale. So let's just, it gives a couple, obviously you have to give a couple of seconds for the system to just push all that information into Accelerator. And then you're going to create the sale. So vehicle has a maintenance schedule, okay. And then at this moment in time, it's based on your way of doing business in here. So if all you're going to do is just create the sale, I have access to the worksheet. If you don't have access to the worksheet, you just come in here, take a note of that 5123, and that's what you're going to approach your manager with, right? And then your manager will work the deal for you, okay? And then at that moment in time, say, so far, or for this particular scenario, you've done your job for the sales planner in the sense that you created the sale. Now your manager's taken over, and then you're going to continue on. All right? All right.
Does anybody have any
Now we're
questions
going
on
to
it?
talk
We've got
about,
our two-
again, activities. So when you log in, you see I had no activities. Now all of a sudden I have 3 automated activities. They're automatically created, as you can see in here, based on the fact that I created that prospect. So if I wanted to see, it's very similar to what you saw before. It shows the dates, and it shows the activities that I have. Obviously, I have all selected activities. If I deselected tasks, just so you know, right, you will see that those activities are going to disappear because obviously all I have is for tasks. And the reason why I say this to you is because that could be frustrating. You have activities, but you don't select them properly in here and you don't see them. So if I did this and I logged in, well, okay, I'm good. I got nothing to do today as far as the activities are concerned. Well, that's not true, right? Because you do have tasks to perform. Tomorrow, click on it, and you see the activity that you have to do a follow-up. Click on that activity. Remember, information, detail. So now you have the detail, which is no different than you have in there. So if you're doing this, if you're using the sales planner here to complete your activities, and forgive me for saying this, it's just because I noticed that in the old sales planner, there was about 6,000 overdue activities, so I'm not sure if you guys are using this. But if you are, in order to complete any activities, it's very simple. Once you pick the activity on the left-hand side, you simply click on the outcome, whatever the outcome was, in this case, say completed. And let's say I did talk to the customer, and the customer wants to schedule an appointment to come test drive something else. I want to show a couple more things. So, spoke with Mr. Stark, and he wants to come in. Forgive my beautiful spelling job here. Come in to test drive and then say you put the stock number, whatever the case may be. I mean, I have that stock number already in there, so I'm just going to paste it here. Awesome. So I completed that task. I put my comments in there. I'm going to updates. Look what happens to the left-hand side. That task now is completed and it's disappeared. Remember, I still have Tony Stark in here, and he wanted to come in tomorrow, right? So let's say tomorrow. I can come here now, go into my action button down at the bottom, and do what? I can create an appointment, in this case, because it is an appointment, and I'll set it for tomorrow. Let's say he's coming in at 10:00 a.m. for what? This is for your internal information. Test drive, put the unit number in there. See this flag here? If it's on the right green, it means that it will automatically, if we are set up, and that's the test I'm going to do right now, automatically set up to send a communicator message to this customer via text or email, depending on what you've chosen, as a reminder of the appointment. So I'm going to create this. And if it's set up in the background, which I don't know it is, but we'll find out very soon. There you go. So obviously you guys can't see this, but I just got a text saying, you have booked a sales appointment at Jeff McGee Chevrolet for Wednesday, January 24th at 10 a.m. with, and then my name as a quorum, thank you, right? So in here now I can reply, okay, see you there, send back. So now the customer replied back, and that's the importance in my books to use communicator. You will see that soon enough that message is going to pop up here on the bottom right hand side, provided that you have communicator up and running. So just give it a couple of seconds, it will pop up here shortly. And then once that happens, you can actually click on it, and then you're going to go back into that string, that communication string between you and the customer, and everything should be there. It's taking a little bit longer than expected, but it should pop up in there. The good thing too now is that when in the past it would pop up in there and disappear. So if you're not at your desk or whatever the case may be, it would not show. Now it will pop pop up in there and stay until you act upon it, until you go in there and close it. Okay. Also, the automated setup will send a reminder 24 hours in advance. We'll send a reminder to that customer. If this message is taking a little bit too long.
So this is the good part of this communicator and stuff, right? If we send that message right after the customer leaves, that's going to be your open line of communication already. It's not going to be your personal cell phone or whatever it is, unless you have the communicator open on it, right? So that's going to be their open line of contact. This is where they're going to message you back, because this is where you messaged them from the first time, whether it was to their email or to their cell phone on the text message, whatever way that they preferred it to be, right? So it just, and the fact that those calendar updates are going to be our logbook. They're going to be, instead of the sale board that sits beside my desk, instead of the logbook that sits on my desk, that calendar with just entering these people is replacing all of that. And you can do it from your desk. You don't have to come and whatever. We can see it all. We can see, we're going to go with a list that Kim's going to get hit with every morning of all these appointments that come in there. When the person shows up at 12:30, oh, Mr., she'll use his name, right? There's a touch to the whole thing. You know, it's all going to be smooth, but we have to use it. And it's just, we're going to have to use it. If you're not using it, if you have customers that come in, I go in after and there's no name there, it is going to cost. It's just how it's going to be. We're getting absolutely bit by the people that own this place. And if mine, Adam's money comes into question, believe me, everyone else's will as well. So we're going to use the tools that they're paying for us to use. Okay?
That's perfect.
Go ahead.
Yeah, and absolutely correct. I mean, there's even managers have access to widgets as well. So widgets can show you a bunch of other things as well, right? So if I go into the widgets in here, each sales manager, each manager within that dealership can create a bunch of other, can have their own widgets in here. And widgets can be as simple as, just so you guys understand as well what, the type of reporting that we can provide, can be as simple as employee tasks, stats. So in here now, they will have the opportunity to take a look and see, okay, how many overdue tasks each one individual in the sales department will have, right? They can come up in here and do communicator utilization. Basically, here, see the 3-4 messages showing everything. They will have access to, again, going back to that customer, to that point that was made. If I open up Tony Stark's communication right in here and open communicator, I have every single piece of communication between you and the customer. And that's going to be all centralized in communicator, so there is no other way other than, there you go, right? So they can actually see all this. They don't have to keep going back and forth. And there's other reporting capabilities as well that I'm not going to touch now, but it's going to be available. Okay? And as you can see now, the second message, see you then, came through here, and it stays in here until you act upon. So either you click on it and it opens up the communicator for you, or you just, in that case, could have exit out. Okay? All right, so your activities are, again, very simple. All you got to do in order to complete them is exactly that. So in this case in here, Tony Stark shows up for my appointment. I come in here, instead of let this go into overdue, he just came in, we did everything we needed to do. You can put your comments in here, and you say show, no show. Now, once again, this goes back to managers. Managers will have access to all this information. They can actually go there and look at your customers. They can put notes. They can create tasks. They can create appointments on your behalf. And it's very important that for you, not only for you, but also for them, that you put the proper comments. I've been to a lot of dealerships that all they do, they come up in here, oh, I got to call Tony, or send out an email to Tony, right? This is already in there. I come in here and I say, completed and updated. Well, it's great. You know what? Yes, I completed my activity. If I go back into to my closed or completed activities in here, I look in here and I say, yeah, I completed it, but there's nothing here. There's no comments, there's nothing. So 3 months down the road, right, somebody comes to you and says, hey, what's going on with Tony? You come in here because this information is going to be available to you and managers. I don't know. I called Tony on the 25th, but there's nothing here. So again, this is for you, right? This is for you to manage. So I encourage you that every time you come in here, so let's just go to the next task in here, or actually even the appointment. Let's go to the appointment. I come in here and come to the comments and say, you know, now I'm going to call it Tony. Tony test drove the, and then whatever the case may be, and we wrote up a deal. Awesome. So now you come in here and you say, so it was a show or no show? It was a show, and boom. And I update here, and now that appointment is gone, but if you come back in here and look at your closed activities, it's all here. Tony test drove the, and we wrote out the deal. So managers are looking at this. They know exactly what's going on, right? And by the way, sorry, who is the manager?
John and Adam,
I'm
yeah.
sorry, I didn't get your name.
I'm John. Adam's here too.
Hi, John.
Hello.
Hi, John. So I'm not sure, John, if you've seen this, but there's now the Retail Excellence Program, right, from GM.
Okay. It's a what? Sorry?
So the Retail Excellence Program.
Oh. For this program, you said? For this program, you said?
Well, it's called the GM RAP, right?
Yeah. No, I know what.
Program. It's
Yeah.
called Retail Excellence Program.
Yeah. For having this, I know. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm not going to go into that because this is between managers, obviously, and GM. But one of the very important things is going to be the completion of sales appointments and bringing the customers into the dealership and completing the appointments and completing the sales. So this could become a very important part of the sales process as well within the GM stores, right?
It's going to be.
So-
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So at this moment in time, so I've got my activities, I've got my all my information in here, and the other thing that you can do as well, you can go into your prospects. So if you want to find your customers, obviously I only have 2 in here, so this is not a whole lot of information for you guys. But if you've been at the dealership for a long time, you're going to have all your customers in here. Very important. How do you find your customers? Well, there are a couple of filters that you can use first and foremost. The 3 lines in here, these are going to, again, they denote hidden menus in here, so you can find the statuses, the type, the channel, and the source. Channel and source for you guys somewhat irrelevant at this point in time, but the status, so you can select the open or active customers, and you can also select the closed. So remember, when I actually closed Tyler, if I was, actually let me just select that. If I try to find Tyler in here, obviously he's not going to show up, right? So if I type Tyler or Robinson, the system is going to search and nothing is going to show up. And this could be some sort of somewhat of a frustration point as well if you don't have the filters properly set up properly. If I come up in here now and I say all, which basically means that they're both blue, and I apply, and now I type Tyler. Well, Tyler has already appeared in there, right? But now I type Tyler, you will see that Tyler is going to show up, but if I click on it, you will see that if I go into the prospect, it's going to show in here that it's closed. But at least Tyler is there. I can come up here and create a new prospect, or I could potentially come up in here and reopen that prospect. I mean, it's up to you, okay?
Will that show retention as well as prospects? Just the way that's set up?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, I do apologize once again because I don't have any retention
No, I
customers,
know.
but you will.
Yeah.
And this is the next topic in here. So let's say I'm just going to select open only. guys have leads from other third-party companies such as, what do you call it,
Dealer Direct or
or
Well, not Dealer
Direct,
Direct.
Anything but it.
Kijiji.
Rapid Response, for instance, right? So Rapid Response is one company that if you get leads coming directly to you from Rapid Response, they're going to be listed in here as well. But so will retention customers, okay? So you be sure of those filters. Don't get upset if you don't find your customer right away, because if you just enter in the system, it may be that just your filters are not set up properly. So come up in here and set up your filters. This is what we call is our dynamic search. Dynamic search can be, so you can use first name, last name, you can use telephone number, you can use email address, and you can also use vehicles. Again, in this case, I don't have any customers, but let's say if I had a substantially large list of customers in here that purchased vehicles from me. My manager comes to me and says, Carl, we have a fantastic, plan here for the 2018 Equinoxes. So I want you to go and search all 2015 Equinoxes that you sold and contact those customers and see whether or not you can get them in to trade the 2015 and buy a 2018. So I could come in here again. It's not going to work in this case, but I could come in here and say 2015, and then it will bring all my 2015. Then I'll go Equinox. It will bring all my 2015 Equinox. And if I want to continue digging even deeper to LTs or all-wheel drives and stuff like that, I can. In this case here, because I only search for Silverado, I can type, say, if I type Silverado in here, or even silver, it will bring me back, in this case, that customer that is looking for a Silverado. So as long as I did a search for a customer as well, I can look up vehicles that my customers are looking for. So let's say, again, say if I had searched for this customer another specific vehicle other than the Silverado, I could have typed in here, as long as, once again, the search was there. I'm going to use the Silverado again. And my used car manager just bought this new Silverado, used Silverado, and now I want to see which customers of mine were looking for Silverados. I can come up in here and do it. Unfortunately, the only thing that it's not doing it right now is the year of the vehicle, so you will bring it back Silverado, but not 2013, 15, 14, or whatever the case may be. But you will search specifically for vehicles that you have already delivered. Okay?
Sorry, but Mark is a customer down here looking for him.
Okay, perfect. Is there anything else that we need to add to this for right now, or?
No, I mean, I think it's pretty much it at this moment in time. What I like to do is perhaps if you have a pen and a paper handy, I'm just going to give you the remotes or the mobile.
Okay, go ahead.
So it's APP, so Alpha, Papa, dots, and then accelerator. So how you spell accelerator is XSELLERATOR.com. So if you go into any, so I'll show you here, for instance, if I'm just going to go into, actually I should do this, it's probably fast anyway.
If you can just even email
so
this to Joel.
I type on the top here, just take a look here what I'm typing. It's accelerator.com. And so any browser, you can set this up, and what's going to happen is this is going to pop in here. So you just use your login information the same way as you used to log into Accelerator.
Yep.
And when you log in, when you log in, I'm just going to show you something very quickly here, something that I touched bases, but I just want to, okay, I'm not, oh, sorry, my bad here, I misspelled. populate, so this is going to be, you're going to go into Sales Planner, not VIP. It's going to be Sales Planner. And you see that he populates basically the same information as you had before, with the only difference, oh, okay, there's more here. Okay, so I could actually show you from here. Just bear with me one quick second. I just want to show you that opportunity to search. Let me see if it's going to show me here now, because I have some pension customers. So let's see if I search 2015. There you go. So now we brings my 2015. I could go Chevrolet, and then it's going to bring me up to 2015 Chevrolet. So this is just to illustrate that search I just told you about. So now you can really go deep or deeper into specific customers, right?
For times of the year like this.
So yeah, it's app.accelerator.com, and for the communicator, it's going to be qcommunicator.com. Simple as that. So qcommunicator.com.
Jules will
And
send
you
you
log
guys
in the same way
Don't even write it down.
as you log in. In this case, because obviously I was logged in already here, my sales planner would most likely log me automatically in. And then you can run your communicator on your laptop, on your cell phone, on your iPad. Use communicator
If there's
here
any
as well.
trouble setting any of it up, we will help you set it up, whether it's your phone or a tablet at home, or bring your laptop in if you want it there. We don't care where it is. This is great for 2 a.m. drinking if people want to buy
And
trucks.
that, in the nutshell, obviously becomes, there's a lot of info in here, but if you guys have any questions, please let us know. You should have access to the DRC as well, and the tax support, right? So any questions, please let us know.
Yeah, no, that was
Are
great.
there any questions right now?
Does anyone have anything right away? You can.
Looking forward to trying it.
Don't be shy. Billy?
Awesome.
Blank
So
Billy?
it is active, so just do me a favor again.
Big bag.
Hit that little Windows logo on your keyboard down at the left-hand side and log yourself or sign yourself out, and then log back in again in order